We are Cambridge.
Cambridge Radio. From the Terraces.
Cambridge Radio.
This is From the Terraces on Cambridge Radio. I'm your host, Scott McGeorge. As the U's edge closer to the start of the new campaign, we'll reflect on pre-season so far, plus more exclusive content from Neil Harris, Ghassan Ahadmi, Patrick Bauer and Jake Eastwood. Cambridge City ended their pre-season with defeat yesterday at home to Welwyn Garden City. The Lily Whites losing by a single goal before competitive action begins next weekend. It's been a tough week for Histon, losing all 3 league games, although joint manager Matt Payne saw plenty of positives in the 2-1 defeat at home to Coton Green yesterday. Of course, if you'd like to get in touch with the show tonight, you can do that via text or WhatsApp. That'll be on 07919 070490. Alternatively, drop us an email on studio@cambridge.radio. We'll begin the show where we usually do, and that's with Cambridge United.
From the Terraces.
Cambridge United.
So it's a very good evening from our Gwyder Street studio here in a very sunny Cambridge, and really good to be back after a break, and a big thanks to Tim and Daniel Baker for steering the ship last week on the first show of the season, as I stayed on in San Pedro in sunny Spain. It was really quite warm out there, as mentioned on the show last week, and got plenty of good content. The team, the Cambridge United team as a whole, were so good to us, so complimentary, and got plenty of good access and content, so really good fun. And Gary Atyes joins me in the studio as Tim's away ill this evening, so good to have you in, Gary. How are you?
Evening, Scott. Yes, I'm good. I've cooled down a little bit from our trip to sunny Spain, so 29 degrees isn't so bad.
No, it was ridiculously humid. I stayed on, as mentioned. The team travelled back on the Saturday morning, having played Preston on the Friday, and it did actually, I say, cool down. It just wasn't as humid on the Saturday and Sunday, and we just enjoyed a couple of beach days. But the team wanted warm weather training, and they most definitely got served up that, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I mean, they did so well to get through that game against, all the training first and the game against Preston North End, because it was very warm in that stadium.
Now, would you sum up your Spanish experience, Gary? Obviously, I spoke to you in game, second half against Preston, but what was your sort of overall thoughts of the trip, having been there? We were sort of in the same hotel and a mile and a half down from the Pinatar Arena and the team hotel. And did you enjoy the U's experience?
Yeah, it was really good. I think what I enjoyed about it, not just seeing the team in a different setting, in a European setting, and obviously you could see, I think, from the content that you produce with Neil and the boys, they obviously enjoyed getting together. The little videos that were done by the club are always great, but I think what I really enjoyed more else was actually engaging with some of the other fans, both in the hotel, at the airport and in the stadium, and just catching up with people I haven't seen for a while. So that was really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was good. It was the guys mentioned it on last week's show, but it was great. It was brought up in conversation actually today. I was out and about, and one of my family members knew a friend that had gone out, and he sort of mentioned how Neil had sat down with the supporters for best part of an hour, not just sat there and had a few photos. He engaged, had conversation, and so if anyone wasn't sure about Neil, and he's a people person, and just sat there like a normal fan chatting to our fans. It was great, wasn't it? He missed a team meeting in the meantime, so.
Yeah, I think what the club have done, and the way that Neil and Bonds behind the scenes, I presume, have been really good at engaging with the fans, particularly the last couple of seasons. I think that click that you've got between them is really good. And funny enough, some Preston North End supporters who I walked up the road with back towards the main part of town said the same thing. They were really impressed how we stayed out and our players were shaking their hands and signing autographs and talking to the kids afterwards, and they almost had to wait for theirs. So I think we behaved really, really well, and I think that comes a lot from the way that Neil does things.
Yeah, hopefully the team got out of it what they wanted to get out of it, and the staff, the integration, new players and staff spending time with each other, and all the sort of outside activities. When you're at the training ground, you do your work ultimately, and you go home to wherever the players or staff live. But they were together under the same roof. They were paddle tournaments, there was bike rides, and even at the training ground since they've been back, we've seen a barbecue. And Neil mentions that word and term culture a lot, and it's massive to him. He come from a very tight-knit club with a Millwall, and he knows what it is, us against the world, and having that inner connection and belief, and clearly he wants to implement that at Cambridge United.
Yeah, we've got to get every ounce of that, haven't we, for survival first off in the division. Having been there only a couple of seasons ago and know how tough it is, and you can see that we're being predicted to go down and in that final four. So what he's producing is a culture amongst the players of togetherness and a real bonding, and I think every little thing he does is really good. And he's a real hard taskmaster sometimes. I think you can see that. He demands the players, the very best of the players, whether it's in training or whether it's in matches, and sometimes it comes across in the way he talks after the games. But he does it because actually he's a real winner and wants to win, and he wants the players to understand that. So I think everything he does is really, really good in that area.
It does take you a long way, doesn't it? Teams, players and teams having that tight-knit, the bond, as you said there, Gary, and looking out for each other when you're on the pitch. You want to back each other, and it does. We've heard players talk about previous success. They do kind of allude and mention that can take you quite a long way.
Yeah, we built it last season, and you could see that, and also the bond between the players and the fans. But in previous teams like John Beck's, the siege mentality thing, I think there's a little bit of that element. And as a football club, we've always been smaller. We've always had to try and fight our way, through situations. We haven't got some money to throw around. And I think, that culture and encouraging that from the players and into the terraces is the best way forward.
As mentioned, we've got plenty of content out in Spain, so again, thanks to everyone at Cambridge United for the access. It was great. I sort of quite a good relationship with Neil, as you know, Gary, and had quite a bromance. Yeah, I had quite a topical shirt on with the flamingos, but there was flamingos down in San Pedro, so it seemed to go down well with the team there. And I wore it on the training day, and when we went back to the team hotel in the cool AC air-conditioned...
Not so pink, those flamingos, apparently, someone said.
Well, no, they were on my shirt anyway, and as I say, it went down well. And here's part 2 of last week's Neil Harris interview. Next season, Neil, League One, obviously great success in League Two last season, but some big hitters in that division. So I guess you'll be leaning on all the qualities that brought you success last season, being very good at home, being solid, working hard, having a good togetherness against, like I say, teams that have got a crazy amount of money at the top end of the league. So, but there is that gulf. You have got your Burtons, etc., Mansfield and stuff. So it's very much divided into two. Would you say?
Yeah, quite possibly. People tell me that managing the league last season that there is a bit of a two-tier to the division, but then we see last year with Bradford and Mansfield that trying to bridge that step by ending up in the top half of the league. So it is possible. We're extremely eyes wide open to the challenge in front of us. You're right, Scotty, in the sense of our attributes last year that enabled us to be a top side and a promotion winning side, we're going to need in abundance again this year. That's very clear. So that starts with culture. At the training ground and on match day, that has to be a very high ceiling for us. It's my demand anyway, but it has to be very high standards and culture. That enables you to stand strong at difficult moments, and we will have to deal with adversity this year. We've got to make sure that we're as positive and as good this year in the recruitment department as we were last year, where we had great success, obviously. We're just trying to re-achieve that again. So pressure on all of us to achieve that and get the right players in and the right squad depth. And then ultimately on the pitch, yes, home form. We know we have to make it extremely difficult for the opponent. I see it time, even last year, some players that have played at the high level coming to the Abbey and not overly enjoying the experience of the day. Good. That's what I want it to be. That's what we want it to be. We want to make it difficult for people. Don't want people to come and enjoy it. But we are going to face some really good sides and good players, and there's times we might have to take our medicine. But when we go away from home, we're going to have to be defensively sound. We had the best defensive record in the EFL last year and one of the best in the country, top 3 in the country, and that'll have to be the same as well. But we can't forego the top end of the pinch needing it. So we're fully aware of the spending power of teams, and I'm not going to talk about individual clubs, what they've got and what they haven't got and who we're competing against, etc. All I want to focus on us and the fact that I want us to be competitive in every game. We're going to have to be different in where we play in certain games, because we can't chase and press everything, so we're going to have to be very clever in different ways, but I think I've got the players to do that, and we will recruit the players to be able to do that as well, so really looking forward to the challenge.
Neil, appreciate your time out here. Thanks very much.
Nice to see you, Scotty.
Thank you very much, Neil Harris, who was absolutely, as I say, top drawer out there in Spain. And even myself, I've got a really good friend who's a Millwall supporter, and it was his 65th birthday whilst I was out in Spain. And just to Neil, explain to him, I said, would you do him a little message of congratulations on his birthday and celebration, a bit of celebratory message, and Neil took the phone off me and done a real personalised message. He was top drawer, so can't speak highly enough of the man for looking after everyone out there, and he's a real people person, and he's got someone through the door who he likes a lot, Gary, in Ghassan Ahadmi, and we're going to hear from Ghassan again in a moment, and someone we've seen at the Abbey a couple of years ago, and his best spell of football's been at the Abbey, so he'll be looking to pick up where he left off, Ghassan, won't he? It's a big season for him.
It is a very big season for him. He definitely works really hard, and he worked really hard in Spain. I thought how hot it was on that first day, and I remember thinking, well, if this is how hard he works in 38 degrees, it'll be great when we're back in sort of normal temperatures back at the Abbey. But he was really putting a shift in, and he's a real physical presence. He just needs to, I think, turn that into a few more goals. That's the only thing I would personally say. But he's got a big season ahead of him.
Yeah, I think there's bundles of improvement in Ghassan. You look at his qualities. He's obviously very strong in the air. He looks like he's almost, I wouldn't say bulked up, but you're quite right. He was clattered into a couple of Preston defenders. We saw it against Northampton Tuesday night with his physicality, and I know Neil wants him to just concentrate on staying central and in the box and just getting on the end of things, rather than your Louis Atyes, who's going to sort of run in behind and run the channels. So it'd be interesting to see how Ghassan does. I feel like it's a really big season for him. He's had some big moves, not quite worked out for whatever reason, and some injury troubles, which you do feel a little bit sorry for him, because he works so hard. We spoke to him, or we heard from him last weekend, and he lives really clean. He's always in David Lloyd gym, as he said. He eats brilliantly, does all the right things. You kind of want it to come off for him. Yeah,
it's clear that he's a real pro, and he really he's passionate about the job he does, and I think you can see that he's got himself in a really good place from the pre-season stuff we've seen so far. Let's hope A, he can stay fit, and B, deliver some goals. I know he had a chance on Tuesday night. I wasn't there, but he got a chance where he hit the bar. It's those little things, it's those fine margins. You need him to turn those into a couple of goals to give him that confidence going into the start of the league season.
Yeah, he certainly should have scored. It was a bit unfortunate the way it sort of skidded off the turf and hit the bar, but the key is being in the right place. Yeah. It was a great delivery from Callum Perry, who's an impressive signing. Again, spoke to him last week. An impressive young man for 20 years old, very mature on the ball, and Ghassan should get some good service. So if he can work on his positioning and finishing, there's definitely chances to be had. But without further ado, here's part 2 of the Ghassan Ahadmi interview I got poolside in Spain. You're 25 now, Ghassan, and some would say you're coming into your prime years. You've been at some big clubs, some big fees have been paid for you. You're back on familiar territory under a manager that really rates you highly in Neil Harris. So is this a big season for Ghassan Ahadmi?
Massive season.
Yeah.
Massive.
What are you sort of looking to implement? You know, you got a lot of appearances back at Cambridge United in 2023-24, so you know, you scored a lot of goals, you seem happy, and some things just click and work, so you'll be hoping to sort of make that reconnection, I guess.
Yeah, last season for me was a really disappointing season. Obviously I made my move to Charlton for big money, and since I was there, like, I was really unlucky with injuries and external things that happened. So for me this season, my main priority is availability and staying injury free, because I know if I play games and play minutes, everything will take care of itself. Like, for me this is not even a question. I just need to stay available, because I know that if I'm available, I play minutes, I'll give the level and I'll score goals. I'm sure about it.
I suppose the injuries might be slightly frustrating. You know, you had the one at Stevenage with your hip. I'm sure that's sort of fully healed now. So, you know, full pre-season, you're back with a manager that, you know, really likes you. So I'm sure that's reciprocated the other way. Neil's top. He's done the job, obviously all-time leading scorer at Millwall. So a great person to be under his tutelage.
Yeah, 100%. Not even because what he has done in the past or who he is, that obviously it can have a bit of an impact in some players when they have to come and work under him. But mainly for me, it was because I had him before when I was in my time when I was here in Cambridge before he left to Millwall. And for me, that 4 or 5 games I was under him, I was hot. You know, like I was. He really took care of me. He got a really good understanding of me, and I loved and I really enjoyed working under him. I think like I really understand him, the way he works, but most importantly he understands me, like what I need, where I can play, like where I can create more trouble. Like, so for me, based on my past experience with him, when I had the chance and the opportunity to work with him again, then I was really excited to do so. Obviously I had a really good time in the past with him, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same this time.
Is it fair to say Neil's a good manager? He's got the best out of you, as you alluded to. He seems to know when to put his arm around a player or when to get tough with him, and he's got high demand.
Yeah, 100%. I know. I think it's as you said, he knows when to give him, like when to give your player a cuddle and when to give him a shot, basically. But with him, more than anything, it's like I remember tactically on my last spell in here, he cut a lot of my running. He made me focus on staying more central, just focusing on attacking the box. And when I was under him, before he came to the club, I was struggling a little bit to score. But as soon as he came in, I had a really good spell under him in all the games he was here, and I believe I scored in all the games he was coaching. So yeah, it was really good in the past, and I'll try and make it better this time.
Yeah, and we had a successful season last season in League 2, Neil getting us up at the first attempt, but League 1 a big challenge for yourself, for the team, for Neil. Some big clubs in there, and you know, got to make especially the Abbey Stadium a bit of a fortress and make it uncomfortable for teams coming to the Abbey. So are you looking forward to the challenge in League 1 next season?
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait for it. I feel I'm ready for I know I'm ready for it, so I can't wait. Obviously, in my head now, pre-season, I'd love that the league started this weekend, to be fair. Like, I feel ready to go, but obviously still like good 2 weeks, I think. But as you said, I can't wait to be back playing in front of the Cambridge fans at the Abbey. I had a really good time there, really good moments there, and yeah, I can't wait to keep creating more moments and scoring more goals there.
You speak about moments and chance creation. There should be some this season. Got some talented players at the top end of the pitch. Ben Knight shone second half of last season, especially. Isaac Heath, SK, Liam Bennett's crossing. So you're exceptional in the air. That's one of your sort of niches and talents. So be looking to link up with them guys and convert some of the chances they'll be creating for you.
Yeah, 100%. I think during the weeks that we've been training now, I'm getting a better hold and a better understanding where they can serve me better, what they like to do when they're on the ball and things like that. And I think this time in pre-season is really good because I think it's like the crucial time where you can start making connections with players, with someone who's on the ball, if he likes to go line and cross or he likes to go in. So you start getting a better understanding of how players play and where will you be able to get the best moments, the best chances to kill the assets that they might be giving you in a game. So I think I've been doing that. We've got a couple of weeks more and hopefully we can keep building.
Brilliant. Just finally, Gassan, before you go and enjoy your sort of time down the beach, I'm a supporter myself. Just a message to the Amber Army. As I said earlier, they took to you in your first spell. There's a player in there, and I just really hope you start reaching your potential and shine for Cambridge United this season. You got a message for the supporters there as we go into the season?
Yeah, 100%. All I could say is stick with us. The lads are working really hard. We will be working really hard. We'll try our best. And on a personal note, I can't wait to score goals at the Abbey again. I can't wait to hear them cheer and sing my name, and I'm sure it will happen. I'm confident. There's a good group, there's a good coaching staff, so I can't wait for the season to start.
Fantastic. Well, Gassan Ahadme, thanks very much for your time out here in Spain, and wish you all the very best for the season.
Thank you very much.
That's Gassan Ahadme, and there was a real defiance within his body language when I sat poolside speaking to him, Gary, and you heard at the start of that piece, and I just said, you've moved for £1 million here, Ipswich, Charlton, but it hasn't quite happened, as I said, for lack of opportunity, injury, and when I asked him, is it a big season, he just replied, massive, and pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? It's a big season for Cambridge United and a big one for Gassan. He really needs to stay fit and break out if possible. Yeah,
he's sounding really hungry. That's the thing that got me. I'm really excited to start the season and looking forward to it. And I think he knows himself that he's got to. He's had a couple of very frustrating seasons after big moves. It's been stop-start for him. The Charlton thing, as he said, it was a decent move, big money move, and there were some frustrations there. I think that potentially with injuries and other things that went behind the scenes. So I think from him, it's got to be a flying start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a big season for Gassan, and had a few other incomings there, Gary. Obviously real unfortunate with Callum Stead, the eye-catching signing from Barnet. He just couldn't quite make it up. He's had a pretty clean bill of health up until just a couple of weeks ago, where Cambridge City ruptured ankle ligaments. Quite honestly, you're better off just breaking your ankle, probably. I mean, as bad as that sounds, the ligaments can be a really tricky one to recover from. And even in that game, evidently spoke to Kel Watts in Spain, and he was all bandaged up on his hand and said he trodden on and broke his hand and had to have it reset. So it wasn't very profitable for us, that game, in all honesty. But these are the things that fly up at you at football. In football, Neil's got to try and navigate these disappointments. George Hoddle, the innocuous one on Father's Day, playing football with his dad. He'll be missing them too. So, a couple of players down already. But what do you make of the other incomings? Isaac Heath, Patrick Bauer, Gassan, who we spoke about, and Callum Perry, who we heard from last week from Coventry.
I think really good. It's frustrating that we lost Stead so early. I mean, obviously that's a blow, but I really liked Isaac Heath. I thought against a decent fullback from Preston North End, he gave him a hard time. He's a clever footballer. He's got a really good brain. He's got quick feet. So even against a very athletic guy, in that game, he still managed to trick him a few times into not being able to make the tackle. So I'm really looking forward to him. I think he's got a huge future. Same with Perry. I think he's obviously a class act, and they rate him at Coventry. The fans do, the manager does, Frank Lampard. So we've been given the ability to take him on a little bit and bring him on. So looking forward to seeing him. And again, Patrick Bauer, I think the only thing, I thought he got caught a little bit for pace a couple of times and picks up that yellow card. But that's things that we can sort out, positioning stuff for what is a new back three of a five. And then, Hadmi, well, we know what he can do. If he starts on, and scores a couple of goals, his confidence goes. I think he could be really, really good for us and get, 10, 15 if he gets the luck and stays injury free.
Would be great to get a good start for him. I think it's important to get a real good pre-season. He stayed fit thus far. We're touching wood as we speak here, and for Gassan's sake and for our sake, it probably looks like he'll probably get the nod at the top end of the pitch. Obviously, not forgetting Louis Appareau done a pretty decent job up top for us last season. I know he had his critics, but he's also not a bad player to challenge Gassan and bring on. In the remaining sort of 20 minutes of a game with his, industrious running and chasing the ball down, and good option to have off the bench if Gassan does get the nod.
Yeah, I mean, he had to start games, didn't he? And sometimes when a player has to come on and prove himself, as Appare's got to do, because I think Hadmi be starting, it gives him that extra edge to prove himself, So, and we know that he's a really hard working player, Appare. There's no two ways about it. He does a lot of work, which I think some fans don't always understand or see, but he works really, really hard. And also we've got Mr. Lavery to come on and he had a one-on-one almost straight away in Spain, didn't he, when he came on? And it's a shame that he didn't score that goal. But yeah, I mean, we got a bit more firepower. I'd perhaps like to see one more. I know that Stead's missing, but it depends on what the club have got in terms of the money available. Yeah,
and a couple of weeks ago, Neil kind of suggested it might have to be a case of quality over quantity. You in an ideal world, you'd have both, but we're fishing in a bigger pool now in League One, and yeah, very much is about getting quality, trying to keep people fit. Obviously, you're going to get injuries along the way, but it'd be interesting. We've sort of hit a little bit of a lull. We got these players in relatively early. Callum Perry obviously signed on loan. We understand that was in progress for a few weeks, and there was a lot of interest. I walked back from training with Callum and had a good chat before we got the interview in the hotel, and he was a wanted man, so that was a real good get. Saw him at the Abbey on Tuesday night against Northampton. Callum played the second half against Preston in Spain. Looks really tidy and looks after the ball very well. These under-21 sides are just taught that. It's drilled to just keep the ball, look after it. He went backwards quite a lot against Northampton, and again, it's just looking after the football. But once he's done a few weeks and sessions with Neil, etc., he'll know when to hit the channel, when to pass inside to Kel, and so on. But he's a player I'm really looking forward to watching. Is Callum Perry.
Yeah, no, he's got a great pedigree, and obviously he's really well thought of. That's the bit I think you keep hearing from Coventry fans and from the team itself, the club itself. I'm looking forward to him. Of course, we'd like some more signings. One area I think perhaps I feel is central midfield, as I've spoken to you before about. We've got some older legs in there, with Don Ball. So I'd like to, and without George, who was obviously making his mark as a central midfield player, as a holding player, perhaps some players, a bit like they had in Crewe's midfield. There's some young players they brought in on loan, a little bit more energy. That's the only thing I think perhaps I'd like to see in there. But other than that, I think the squad's pretty good. We as fans quite often said last season that with this team we'd have stayed in League One. That was something I heard quite regularly. So we've got the base of it. We've added a bit to it as well, and hopefully we'll get one or two more in now that things are beginning to settle out in the World Cup and stuff, as Neil has intimated.
Yeah, it's gone a little bit quiet, the market, but as Neil said in his own words, just waiting for the market to come back to us, and it will do. We all know we're still a little bit light. We've got a good side. You know, if we had to play a side tomorrow, I'd feel confident we'd have a really strong outfit. But need a little bit more depth, a little bit more quality. But I'd rather be a bit more patient than just sign anybody just for the sake of getting bodies in. So as fans, we think, it's gone quiet, it's gone dead, nothing's happening. You know, their phones have gone down, but that's far from the case. They'll be working on it behind the scenes, and I'm sure we'll get the sort of 2 or 3 that we're after. Here's Neil on the market currently.
We knew it'd be difficult. We knew the last 2 or 3 to come in the building would be slightly later, just because unfortunately we just can't compete with a lot of other clubs at the level, and we're accepting of that, and that's just where we're at. We're so fortunate to be in the position we are as a football club. On the whole, structurally where we're at, and we're always thankful to the owners for that. But we need to compete to try and get good players that we feel help our squad get better and develop. Then we knew we might get to a stage where we have a little lull in the middle, where we have to concentrate on the group we've got. Trying to have a look at some younger players now with a view to integrating them over the course of the next 12 months, and then wait for the market to probably come to us a little bit more again at the start of August.
And there was one player you mentioned earlier there, Gary, and Isaac Heath, and we believe there was quite a substantial fee paid for Isaac there, and potentially might have smashed the Steve Claridge fee that was right back in the early 90s there to Luton Town. But yeah, for 21-year-old lad, bags of potential, good grounding at Everton, looks real sort of knowledgeable head on him for a young player, and scooped a few awards at Accrington. Looks exciting player, doesn't he, going forward? He's going to be one of your mavericks, as Neil puts it, can go left and right, got that low centre of gravity, and he's going to sort of cause havoc down that left hand side.
Yeah, the only thing is, I suppose, is the size, a little bit, but obviously League One's a little bit more of a footballing division perhaps than League Two, but he's definitely got a good footballing brain, and he's got those tricks and a little bit of pace to go past people. So I'm really excited by what I've seen of him so far, and looking forward to seeing more of him. Him and Ben Knight in the team gives us some players with some real ability, that with that X factor.
Yeah, 2 players that will certainly get supporters off of their seats at the Clodagh Abbey Stadium. Please stay with us on Cambridge Radio. This is From the Terraces. We'll have a brief break. When we come back, we'll be hearing from the big German Patrick Bauer and goalkeeper Jake Eastwood.
Cambridge Radio.
Amplify is the brand new local music show on Cambridge Radio, bringing you the best new and emerging talent from in and around Cambridge, with live performances and exclusive interviews with the artists shaping the local scene. Whether it's your first listen or your next favourite act, Amplify is where Cambridge's music comes to life. Amplify online whenever you want, and Wednesday at 7 on Cambridge Radio.
Welcome back to From the Terraces on Cambridge Radio. Me and Gary were just chatting during the ad break there, and Gary wants to bring up Glenn McConnell. He's a sort of player that's been on the sort of peripheral of the first team side, had a couple of loans, and he's very highly regarded, but it's not really happened for him thus far. What's your sort of thoughts on Glenn, Gary?
I thought, he's been knocking on the door, and he's had a few chances in the past, but not quite, made it in. He'd had the odd good game when he's come on, but not enough, I think, to find himself with a regular first team spot, particularly when you've got people like Ben Knight around, But I thought in Spain second half, I thought he looked very, very lively. He had a few tricks, and I thought we'd perhaps seen the best of him. That's the thing I'm thinking. And actually, this season will be the season that he comes good, which would be great if we could find regularly some of that little bit of magic which we think Glenn's got, and obviously the coaching staff do. Then hopefully we'll find a player that can make a real difference in the team, and that'd be great if that happens. Yeah,
it just concerns me that he hasn't quite broken through. He had a couple of sniffs of opportunities last year. He done all right at Barrow, and then he just hasn't quite grabbed them when they've come for me, and he just needs to play football. So obviously will be dictated to by the market. If we bring 2 or 3 in his position, he might have to go out on loan to perhaps a League Two club and show his teeth there, much like Liam Bennett did at Walsall perhaps, and have a stint there and come back once he's maybe got 25-30 games under his belt. But yeah, interesting, talented lad, good character around the ground and around the place, a popular lad, but I wouldn't say it's now or never, but he does need to sort of step up and start playing games of football, I would say. We mentioned the big German there, Patrick Bauer. I got back, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning after a delayed flight from Murcia. It was early hours of Monday morning. It was a Sunday night flight, but there was a press day that was kindly arranged for us to attend on the Monday. So me and my sort of tired eyes and suntan got down to Clare College and spoke to the big German Patrick Bauer and just posed a couple of questions to him. Right, a real intimidating character, really softly spoken and German, but trust me, standing next to Patrick, you wouldn't want to bump into him or upset him. He's a mean character. Here's Patrick Bauer. Patrick, we just got back from Spain. How did you find that camp? We're sat behind Ghassan Ahadmi, and I believe you roomed with him, and he said you both sort of clicked.
Yeah, definitely. I'm playing football very long, but he's probably the most similar to me who I've ever met. So we clicked straight away, and it was a really good room, and really enjoyed my time in Spain with the boys. And
Ghassan said the only way he knew you was when you were opposition and played against him. What was he like as an opponent?
He was a handful. If you face him in a game, you know that you don't have an easy game because he's a big, strong guy, and I think he's got all the attributes to have a really successful career. Hopefully he contributes with a lot of goals and assists this season, and I believe that he has a big future.
And fans saw a glimpse of what we can expect from Patrick Bauer out in Spain against your former club, Preston North End. You got a really good reception off of their travelling supporters there. Did you enjoy the game as hot as it was?
Yeah, it was enjoyable. It was obviously really hot, but I like to play games and just want to get as many minutes as possible.
And the support was fantastic out there, as I said, a good amount of Preston fans, likewise Cambridge, so it was good, to get a good reception, and you made a good impression with the Hughes fans.
Yeah, it was so nice to see so many fans making the long journey, connecting it with their holidays. It was really nice to see all of them. I think they saw a good game of us, and hopefully we can take it into the season.
And your strength clearly is your strength, literally, and we saw you very powerful in the air, Patrick, so you'll be looking to sort of bring them attributes to the team this season.
Yeah, definitely. This is part of my strength, leadership, organisation, but I'm really powerful as well, good in the air, and hopefully I can take it into the season.
Yeah, don't let that softly spoken German accent put you off if you haven't seen Patrick in action thus far. We've watched him out in Spain, Gary, and he body checked a couple of Preston players off the ball, and he did against Northampton. There's no messing about with him. I'll tell you something, when he's on the pitch, he won't lose many headers. He might lack a little bit of pace. I don't think that's necessarily his game. He's 33, soon to be 34, but Neil, Adam and the team clearly think that he can add something.
Yeah, I think the term is he's a unit, to be honest with you. He's a big, strong lad, powerful lad. He came across very, very, as you said, very gently spoken in that. And watching him, he's very, very good in the air. I just said, a couple of times, I think it's early season, but I know that he's not, particularly. There's nothing negative about his football on the ground from other clubs. They've said he's been really good. So perhaps it was just that, he got caught for pace once and picked up a booking, which is rare and friendly, I have to say, but good to see.
Yeah, I think when we see Big Pat, I think it would be in a 3 with Jobe and Watts either side of him, because I don't think you'd want to be in a foot race too many times. But as I said, aerially, he's not going to lose many headers. I can tell you that for free now. He's, as you said, he's a unit. He's big and horrible, which you need, and he's a Neil Harris type player. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And again, Neil believes he can get a little bit more out of Patrick at this sort of late stage of his career, and we saw it with James Gibbons, albeit he was 28 last season, but he can improve players at whatever stage they're at.
Yeah, and he adds something to us for both defending set pieces, which we know is important in this division as it was in League Two, but equally at the other end, we now know how important set pieces are. We saw it in the World Cup, and we see it a lot in all the divisions right the way through now. So I think, to see him in there, he's going to have to be picked up, and it might make opportunities for other people. You've now got Gassan, him, Job, Watts. That's a pretty impressive set. So if we can get the set pieces right, we could do very well. Absolutely.
And moving on swiftly, I also caught up with goalkeeper Jake Eastwood, who's turned out to be a really good signing for Cambridge United, Gary. It's been a little bit of a contentious position for the U's over the past 2 or 3 seasons, and perhaps not worked out with the likes of Jack Stevens, Vincenzo Reyes, and is it Nathan Baxter, was it? What's his name? The lone goalkeeper. But either way, Jake's come in and been a real success story for us. He was one I caught up with Monday. We'll hear from Jake now. Jake, we're back in a sensible temperature. How did you find Spain? You performed really well in the Preston game as well.
Yeah, like you've just mentioned there, it's a much more sensible temperature over here. I thought it was a ridiculous climate that we were playing in last week. I think it's the hardest 90 minutes I've had to play, and I don't really move anywhere, so I can't imagine doing that and having to run round as well.
Yeah, so it was tough, and like you say, you weren't necessarily, I'm not having a dig at goalkeepers, but you weren't doing the running around.
Yeah, no, I don't. Good job I weren't either. I think I was pretty red after that game. Don't know exactly how hot it was, but it was pretty brutal. And it was the same most of the week, really. But it were a really good week. Training went well. Obviously, the game against Preston went really well, personally and for the team. I know it's not always about results in pre-season, but to get a win and a clean sheet against a championship side, it's positive.
I thought your performance was really strong first game back. It's nice to do that because you've been off for a little while, obviously training, but your handling was excellent. So personally, you must have been really pleased with the sort of tidying up and the bits that you had to do during that game.
Yeah, definitely. Just to sort of carry on where we left off at the end of last season, it's nice that we've done what we've been doing for the last 6, 8, 10 months, whatever it's been. Managed to get a win, get a clean sheet, and just make it look like a solid performance.
It's easy to say, but I really enjoyed watching you play last year. As Neil said, when you come in, we're going to get an aggressive goalkeeper, and you are just that. I particularly love the way you're sort of aggressive and come off your line and some other things, collect the ball, which is important. So, it's obviously an amazing season for the team and you personally. And, to think that a year or so ago you're in the PFA side there, arguably looking for a club, it couldn't have gone too much better, could it?
No, as you just said, it's worked out pretty much perfect. As you touched on, I went to the PFA pre-season whilst I was out of contract, and then ended up signing here middle of July, about 2 weeks into Cambridge's pre-season. And since then, as you said, the manager wanted me to come in and play. He sort of said, look, you're going to have 50 games, go and fill your boots, and done exactly that, really. I've enjoyed pretty much every game. Every game I've been a part of here, and like you said, it's the way I play. It's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy being aggressive, coming off my line and getting involved in the right way. And yeah, hopefully we'll continue all that into the following season.
You mentioned the word enjoy a few times there, and that's what we've got to do ultimately as supporters and players next year. As you look at the fixture list, there's some exciting games, some big grounds to play in, and Neil sort of mentioned about using the underdog tag to our advantage, and especially at the Abbey. And that's what we've got to do, enjoy the ride, no real pressure, and go in there and give it our best shot.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously we met sort of the expectation last year. The fans have wanted us to get promoted. We all wanted the same. Having getting relegated from League One in the previous season, so we managed that and we met that expectation. And I think the fans, as you said, they got to enjoy this upcoming season. Albeit the games are going to be a lot tougher. There's some big teams in the league, so we might find it a little bit more difficult to get as many wins and clean sheets and sort of positive performances on the board, but we've got to stick with it. Whether it's good or bad, we'll stick with it, keep doing what we've been doing for the last 12 months, and as I said, hopefully we'll find ourselves in a good position.
Cheers, Jake. Have a great season.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
It just shows you, Gary, patience can be a virtue. Jake wasn't necessarily first, second or even third choice. I remember speaking to Neil at the Cambridge City pre-season last year, and he was after a goalkeeper, and Jake wasn't sort of mentioned then. He was in that PFA squad, but we plucked him from there, and what a good season he had. He had a little bit of a wobble, but it's a unique position, goalkeeper, and you're under the microscope, but you'd have took his performances all day long last season.
Yeah, he was very good right from the word go. Apart from perhaps taking out a couple of our centre halves in the process, but you got to give him for his courage and for his commitment. And yeah, when we didn't really know much about him, no one really knew. You know, he'd obviously had not played a lot of football, even though he had a few clubs. And then suddenly comes in, and he's been great. He was really important part of the team, and an important part of that unit at the back that kept all those clean sheets.
Yeah, most successful sides have a good goalkeeper, and I feel comfortable going into League One with Jake Eastwood. It was actually Nathan Bishop, it wasn't Baxter. I'm pretty good with my names normally, but yeah, either way, it's not too significant. We've got a good goalkeeper now, and he signed a 1-year deal, but evidently the club triggered an extension. Jake said the other day he was really happy to stay, so it was all on the club's sort of part on their side, and let's hope they've got a couple of triggers, contract extensions in Mamadou Jobe and Kel Watts once they've played a certain amount of games, because yeah, their contracts run out at the end of this season, and yeah, they're pretty hot property, you would have said. Kel's looked very, very good in pre-season, and yeah, I think Jobe is destined for better and greater things, but we just want to enjoy him whilst he's a Cambridge United player. But just going back to the goalkeeping situation, the U's have had a couple of bids rejected by Carlisle for Gabriel Breeze, highly rated shot stopper there. So we'll see what happens. I think Ben Hughes, like we spoke about, Glenn McConnell, probably needs to go out and learn his trade and go out on loan. And we saw that situation crop up last season where, you know, Jake was suspended, and then Ben is well, very inexperienced, Gary, and we had to obviously go out and get Jack Walton. So I'm guessing that's the plan, someone to come in longer term to push Jake and get Ben out on loan.
Yeah, that's what you tend to see, is two goalkeepers of a sort of similar standard to push each other. We've had that in the past, and you want to see it again, really, going forward. So I can understand what they're doing, and you're right. When Ben was asked to play last year, I mean, he came in that game, didn't he, where there was a sending off, and did okay for the rest of the game. But equally, the game against Bromley was a step too far for him, really, as the club saw it. So having two experienced goalkeepers is really important.
Yeah, I've had a couple over the years. As soon as you said about two pushing each other, I remember going back, I think, to the 90s, John Filan and John Sheffield used to have a good battle. There weren't much between them two, I can tell you now. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Dom Ball, happy birthday, 31 today, club captain, so it's been a good couple of weeks for him. Tim said it was a no-brainer that Neil selected him to be captain, and yeah, Neil said he's going to be open-minded about who's vice-captain, probably be someone like Kel. I think he's really stepped up and almost very youngish lad. He's quite a senior sort of voice within the squad now, but yeah, Bally, good second half of the season. Once he had that key hole on his knee, once he got that out of the way and he had the continuity of playing, I thought he stood up and was really, effective for a second half of last season. Dom Ball. Yeah,
he's a class act. He's one of those players that can run a game. If he's on his, really he's ticking along. He's really, really good. Certainly in League Two. It may be a bit harder in League One, where you've got the likes of Barry Bannon, if he reappears this year for Sheffield Wednesday. But you're, with Dom. And also, as I said to you, I've been to a couple of these things where he did a podcast last year, and he also did a breakfast event that I went to, and he's such a good talker, such a really good lad, really a nice human being, but also really good on the pitch, a good leader, the sort of leader that I think Neil would look for, steady, but got a bit of steel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to Dom on Monday about just still having that real grit and hunger and drive, in his plus 30 years.
You look like the hunger's really still there for you, Dom. You've had a real good career, but you could see, you were often involved in the celebration, scoring yourself towards the end of the season, and that real sort of fire in your belly still there to sort of succeed and have that winning feeling.
I literally think that's it. I mean, I had an early promotion at Rangers when I was 20, and then I didn't get it till I went to Ipswich at 27, and since then I've had a very good 4 years with 3 promotions and a playoff final, and you know what it feels like. It's a lot funner when you're up there and you're fighting for something, and there's no better feeling than actually getting over the line, getting promoted like we did last year, and that's why I'm still hungry, because there's promotions to be had, there's success as a team, there's a lot of enjoyment in there.
Yeah, it was great to catch up with the boys there on Monday. Patrick Bauer, Jake Eastwood and Dominic Ball, who, sure will play a big part in next season. Well, this season coming up, Barnet in the Carabao Cup. 1pm kick-off, please note, 1pm, not 3pm, this Saturday the 8th at the Clodagh Abbey Stadium, and then the real stuff starts the following Saturday, 3pm at the Clodagh Abbey Stadium. It's Wigan Athletic visiting as Cambridge United return to League One, so all to look forward to. We'll be back again same time next week, but we're going to move on now to Cambridge City.
Cambridge Radio. From the Terraces. From the Terraces.
Cambridge City.
So for Cambridge City, it's been very much revolution. Mickey Spillane's had a busy summer, bringing in a number of new recruits to hopefully spearhead a promotion challenge. I caught up with Mickey Spillane. It was actually after the Cambridge United game, just to see how he felt with these new recruits.
Went quite well for you last season. You went on that really good run, and kind of season petered out a little bit, but this is your first sort of time where you can really put a stamp on your side and bring your own players in. There's been a big shift in recruitment. You put a lot of new faces in and seemed to gel looking at it today. So are you happy with the boys you've got in?
Yeah, really happy. I mean, there's been lots and lots of good signs and training in the games. It's all about now, like you say, we've brought a lot of players in, getting that bonding sessions in, them still getting to know each other, them having little lads team night out and stuff like that. But everything I've seen so far has been really good signs.
Yeah, and I thought they were really good against the U's. City, particularly in that first half, on the better side, took the lead. Jayden Randall with a really good header. It's been a pretty good pre-season for the Lily Whites, beating Haverhill, Billericay, Ely City and Bury Town, and only losing to Cambridge United and Welland Garden City. They go away to Lowestoft in the FA Cup preliminary rounds and then start their season in league action the following weekend at home to Canvey Island. So, looking forward to that, and their new stand opening, which looks impressive. I had a tour of that, and if you can get down there and have a look, it'd be fantastic because the facilities are unbelievable. Next up, we'll be talking all things Histon.
From the Terraces.
Histon.
So unfortunately, Histon lost several key players as mentioned last week, and they've lost their first 3 league games. Rugby 3-0, Ainsbury 3-0 Tuesday, going down 2-1 at home to Coton Green, who come from the Tamworth area. Obviously not that impressed with being in that league, Histon. They tried to appeal it, but to no avail. But yeah, it's a few more promising signs from the performance yesterday. I was across at the Cam Tech Bridge Road Arena, I think they called it these days, and caught up with Matt Payne.
That's the 3rd league defeat, but plenty of positives to take there, I guess.
Yeah, we felt just then like today should I say, sorry, was actually a performance to be proud of. I thought we did enough to have something out of that game today compared to the opening 2 games where we were thoroughly beaten and deserved to be beaten those opening 2, but today I think it's a little bit harder to take. Performance was good, result didn't come our way, unfortunately. The keeper's made a hell of a save there at the end. How he stopped that from Luke Kenny, I'll never know. We thought that was all in, and that was a much deserved point for us today, but unfortunately we're looking at a 2-1 loss instead.
Yeah, great start to the game with Enoch, getting his goal there, great finish, so a good sign for him, a good start to his Stoots career.
Yeah, he's a good player. Like we said last week, we knew we were a little bit short going into the start of the season with. You've seen 1 or 2 good ones coming out there today. Enoch obviously getting a goal now for his first start in a game as well today at home. There's more to come. We know we're going to get there with it. We just need another week perhaps to get these last couple in, and then I think we'll be a much more settled side.
And the takeaway is there's plenty of endeavour and character. There's never say die attitude. You nearly equalise, as you alluded to at the end there. So, these are a hardened side, coat and green, and the young lads stood up to it well.
Yeah, look, they've obviously started. I know it's only early in the season, but they're top of the league. I think they came here expecting to have a comfortable game, looking at our opening 2 results so far. But I think it just shows we know we're not a million miles off of it. We're sat there with 0 points after 3 games. They're sat there with 9 points, but we've taken them all away.
And you've got 3 cup fixtures now, Matt. You're looking to get some more bodies in before you resume league action at the end of the month against Yaxley?
Yep, I think you're going to see 1, if not 2 new bodies in the next 7 days, and then probably the week after hopefully we're going to have another one in with that as well. Adding to what we've already got here, like I said, get those 2 or 3 extras in, and I really think we're not far behind it. We will kick on.
You've got a bit of respite now, as I said there, with 3 cup games. Bright Lindsay next in the Vars, so pressure's off and you can just go and attack them cup games, and obviously you'll want to run with the funds that it can bring into the club.
Of course, yeah. Look, everyone wants to do well in the FA Cup and the FA Vars. We're certainly not looking at them as free hit games. Brighton Sea will be tough, and if anything, that's going to sort of really push some of these lads to their limits again. We've got to be on our top form if we want to have a hope of going through to that next round. Soham have obviously had a reasonable start to the season as well, so we know that'll be a tough one in the Vars. The draws weren't kind to us, but again, like I said, when we've got players here, we will back ourselves.
Supporters just got to stick with it. I know it's been a difficult start, been some tough fixtures in there, but as I said earlier, some promising signs on today's performance.
Absolutely. On Tuesday, I don't think we deserve for anyone to stay behind and clap anything that we did on Tuesday night, whereas today, it was actually quite nice. Although you heard maybe 1 or 2 moans and groans at the end of the first half in there, I think the supporters were brilliant in that second half today. Behind us in the stand, all around the ground today, we could hear everyone egging us on to try and get that equalising goal that we felt we deserved. And the fact they've stayed today and given us a nice applause afterwards, they know that the work rate was there, the performance was there, sorry, as we say, but just not quite the result, sadly.
Thanks for your time, Matt.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
There was Matt Payne there, as I said, a lot more promising signs, more to take away perhaps from the rugby game, first game of the season, and Ainsbury, that would have stung them in a local derby on Tuesday evening. But yeah, very much a rebuild job. But we're sort of rattling towards the end of the show. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Gary Atyes, very much for your time and your analysis.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Glad to be here.
Yeah, much appreciated. And just a quick one on the women's football. Obviously, Cambridge United with Ethan Scott now in charge, so much change there. They get their season underway on the 16th of August, away to Billericay Town. Remember, they play at Grange Road now. But have a great weekend. We'll be back same time next week.